Guys, please call your friends to join the meeting. It will be start in 5 to 10 minutes. Guys, we will wait till 5, 7, and then we will start. So please tell your friends to come and join. So hello everyone. First of all, a very good evening. Myself Ayush. I am manager at Career Development Wing, ANC Council. As you all know that the Career Development Wing is currently running the internship training program, and today's session is a part of that initiative. We have got three amazing guests with us. First up is Vishaka, who will be interning at Accenture. Then we have Manaswi, who will be joining BCG. And at last, we have Vedansh, who will be interning at McKinsey. Uh, so let's start the meeting. Vedansh.
Yeah, just a second. I'll take a minute to present. Hello, I hope the screen is perfectly visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Great. So, hi, this is Vedansh. I have an upcoming business analyst intern at McKinsey. It's a very short PPT. In case you miss out on something, feel free to ask. I'm very sure the two coming PPTs would be very much simpler because the consulting firms generally follow a similar process of recruitment. So the process here generally does not apply specifically to this company because I said the genre of companies coming in this domain. tend to follow a similar process. So anyways, let's get started. So there are three parts. Sorry, there are three parts, or you can say the recruitment can be divided into broadly three stages. First, or I would say the most difficult part being a resume shortlist. Second would be a buddy round. In some of the companies, it's accompanied by a dinner as well, and then interviews. So I'd be talking about each one of them in pretty much detail. So, but to give you an overview, right? Resume shortlist generally looks like, as the name itself suggests, let's say shortlisting you on basis of your resume, right? So, one of the most important, let's say, aspects in this domain is to, let's say, ensure that your resume is more than, let's say, business ready. Business ready in the sense that it should be at the least readable, definitely, but it's expected to be a one that can catch your eye, in the sense that by looking at your resume, I should be able to know your best qualities or your best accomplishments within 2 or 3 minutes, right? Next, coming on to a buddy round, wherein if you get a resume shortlist, so buddy round is non-eliminatory. That is to say, if you get a resume shortlist, you will definitely get to give the interviews, but it is evaluative, definitely. So buddy round generally looks like you solving cases with your alums from the same company, alums who are actually joined as full-time employees in that company. Next, coming on to the interviews. So generally involves, again, you rigorously solving cases of various topics. So it can be an unconventional case as well. And then finally, you get your call. Talking about the resume shortlist, so any resume I feel can be broadly divided into 5 sections. And if you have an exceptional achievement in, let's say, 2.5 or 3 of them, I think you have a good chance of getting a shortlist. So these broadly, the 5 sections include academic achievements, projects and interns, social work, and fourth being PORs and then extracurriculars. So that is to say, if you have really good achievements or accomplishments to list down on your resume in 3 of them, or let's say if you have a solid impact in 3 of these sections, and I think the chances of getting a resume shortlist increases greatly. So I think there's still certain aspects in which you guys can specifically focus on in summers, right? And I think I think there might be limited scope for academic achievements as such, because after 4th sem, this mainly includes your, let's say, grades and the exam that you would have cleared, or the competitions that you would have given in your institute, or even, let's say, before coming to your institute. But I think as far as projects and interns and social works are concerned, I think there's still a lot of time for you to, let's say, get greater impacts in your resume if you're, let's say, willing to push for this domain. So yeah, and I think PORs in general, the 3rd-year PORs are generally considered to be of much greater weight than the 2nd-year PORs, right? So let's say if you have accomplished something great there, that could be a part as well. And then finally, obviously, extracurriculars. Coming on to the buddy round. So once you get a resume shortlist, you generally are, let's say, given a buddy who, as I said, most probably is an alum from our institute who's working in that company. So the buddy round generally looks like you solving cases with your buddy or the allotted person. So this is not just, as I said, it's definitely evaluative, but it's not just evaluative in the sense that since the person is an alum from the same institute, you get a great opportunity to know more about the role, or let's say know more about the firm. Have a pep talk in general, wherein the alum generally, let's say, recalls his days as IIT Kanpur and something. And then you obviously solve cases with the allotted buddy. And yeah, so in general, this generally looks like you solving the general cases that could be asked in the interviews as well. But the difference here is you generally end up getting a few important or pro tips at the end of your case. And it's generally advisable to let's say do case with your interviewer, and then if you, let's say, if you've not done well, then probably improve and do another case with your buddy, as I said, because at the end, the final impression within that buddy's mind, you would want that impression to be good so that he gives good feedback about you to the firm, right? The general tips being be conversant, engaging, obviously, because the person is an alum from the same institute, most probably. And I have frameworks of various cases ready before interacting. This is to say that, so in general, there are few cases that have a framework. I'll talk more about the cases in the next slide. So when these cases have a framework, right? Most probably you'd be asked a case if you're lucky. You would be asked a case wherein a specific framework applies. So it makes your work easier if you know the frameworks beforehand. But for certain cases, which are the unconventional ones, you generally have to make a framework on spot using structuring and something like that. So it'd be good if you have practiced a few of these cases before, let's say, solving a case with your buddy. Because again, as I said, though this round is intended to be done with, let's say, you improving in your cases, but at the same time, you would want to have a good impression in front of your buddy as well, because this process is somewhat evaluative. Coming on to the final round, the interviews. So just to make it clear, everyone who gets a resume shortlist are generally called for interviews. No one is eliminated in the buddy round. It's more of an informal round, which is generally done, let's say, before the D-Day, anytime at your or the buddy's convenience. So the interviews generally consist of two major components. The HR component is a minor one and is generally used to break the ice or something. And I've never heard of someone being, let's say, rejected solely because their HR component of the interview didn't go well. So it generally looks like, let's say, who you are, where you're from, why do you choose consulting, what are your interests, hobbies, explain a bit. Generally lasts for around 5 minutes or something. And yes, if let's say the person who's taking the interview is a person who follows the same interests as you, then probably the case might be related to the common shared interest, right? Otherwise, otherwise he can give any of these cases that I've mentioned here. So generally, the various cases that can be asked in an interview, or let's say in a buddy round as well, are guesstimates, profitability, market entry, pricing growth strategy, unconventional cases. Unconventional cases are the ones that don't have a framework that you can readily apply. And even in the above four, there can be a case that has a combination of multiple of these. But generally, this case component lasts for around 20 to 25 minutes. So I can say in general, an interview lasts for around 30 minutes. Some of the resources that you can definitely follow, and I'd say this preparing for such cases shouldn't take a lot amount of time. There is Aditya Agarwal case videos on YouTube. Cases interviews cracked by IIT Bombay and then IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore case books, which you can follow and probably, let's say, brush up your case studies. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you. And I think they do have permission to, let's say, unmute themselves and probably ask questions. If so, feel free. Okay. If not, I think I'd invite Vishakha to probably continue. Thank you.
Yeah, or maybe you can take the questions in the end as well.
Yes, we can take the questions after all the PPTs are over.
Yeah, okay. I'll share my screen. Yeah, I hope it's visible, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so press it. I guess it's fine. I'll present it like this. Yeah, so you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So hello everyone, I'm Isha Goel and I'll be doing my intern at Accenture. So basically, my PPT will be focusing more on maybe you can say tier 2 companies in consulting. So like for tier 2 companies, the process is usually short. So unlike like big 3 consulting firms, you have only a day or two between the shortlist and interview. So you have a very less time for preparation. And it's usually good if you have an idea of what consulting is and you have done a bit of case studies or you have done some sort of preparation before your shortlist, not like just starting after the shortlist. And uh, resume is, of course, the major component, as your resume must highlight you. It must be compact and to the point, and it must show like what makes you stand out. And of course, this is very important to get it reviewed by a CPs before submitting, as like there can be minor things that you can miss, but we know that these are the mistakes that people usually make. So it's good to get them pointed out before. Um, Also, like since you have just a day or two, when you get to know that you have got shortlist in uh, tech consulting or similar company, like I'm specifically talking about like companies like Accenture. Okay, so so like you can't really go through all resources. So it's better if you ask a senior who had done intern in the same company or is placed in the same company. So because the pattern majorly is same. Though it was not in my case, that's the sad part. But usually, what type of case studies they ask, that that's the it's a high chance that the pattern is same. So the recruitment process which I will be talking about is uh, inclined towards how I had it at my end in Essential. So it it was like basically it had only two parts. One was selection test and resume shortlisting. So selection test was just a short 90-minute test and was aptitude test. It tested your mental ability skills and general mathematics like probability stats questions were there. So it was, we'll say, kind of easier test as compared to other coding tests that you give. And the second major part is resume shortlisting. So on base of these two components, they give you a shortlist for next part, that is interview. So interview has two rounds. One is technical and HR. So first round, that is technical, it will focus on the work that you have mentioned in your resume. And like work, it can be on your work experience, projects, or anything that speaks what technical skills you are posing to have. Also, there will be a case study which you're not really expected to solve or conclude, because these interviews are like not that long, they are really short. They will give just 15 minutes to case study. Okay, so you're just judged on how you are going to approach the problem, not really how you are going to conclude or what is the result you are getting. So they really judge your thinking skills or your way of approaching the problem. Or it can be a short guesstimate, which you will be required to conclude with a number or something. Then the HR round. HR round will focus on you, like how you stand out from others having the same skill set. So in this, like HR round also plays a uh, important role, because it is something which talks about other part of your resume apart from the technical things that if they have discussed previously. They will be highly focusing on judging you, like not only like what you have written on your resume, but what you are saying in front of them at that moment. So like your introduction, whatever you will say in your introduction, they will just pick out everything from that and cross question you. Okay, and in your resume as well, what sort of extracurricular activities or PORs you have, or other involvements that weren't discussed in previous round. That's like high chance that it is discussed here. And if time permits, they can ask you another case study, or and you can expect questions like, why do you want to join consulting, or like since you're doing engineering, why are you switching to consulting? Some sort of this questions, and even about the company, like how do you think our work environment is, or why this company, why XYZ company, what have you heard about a company? These sort of questions can also be expected. This is an advice to make an interview as a conversation. Like don't panic on it, and don't try to make it just one way, make it two way. Like you can also ask the interviewer uh, like at the end that maybe how was his or her experience in the company, or if you will like just curious questions, like you're really enthusiastic to join the company, and if you will be joining, then what all things you'll be doing. Okay, so like feel free to ask these questions at the end as well. These are additional pointers. These are, to be honest, general in sense. The first one is to check your portal for shortlist, because I feel like at my end I checked it really late. So like no one will tell you that your shortlist has come. They will just call you before the interview if you're not present there. Okay, so like this is something that you can keep in mind. Do check for shortlist and updates and even your mail ID. Um, uh, Second is very important, to be genuine in your interview. Like don't just bluff anything. Don't say something that is not true and you cannot defend. Okay, so if like even if you're bluffing, then it should be a good bluff. Like you should have a thorough knowledge about it if you're saying something. Okay, so and be thorough with the resume, because resume is the first impression that you're giving to the company. So it's a document that you have given yourself, and like it's a really bad impression if you don't know something in your resume. So uh, uh, yeah, okay. Talk to many people about their interview experience, because in my case, it was my first interview, but it didn't really look like first interview because I had done a mock interview as well before. And like when you talk to the people about how their interview experience was, like to seniors and in detail, then you get a bit of picture in your mind that okay, uh, this kind of interview flow will be. So you're not panicked at the moment. It's not first time for you. Okay, so like if you can do a mock interview, that will be really great. um, Fourth is relax and believe in yourself. It's certainly not the end of the world, but yeah, okay. I guess that was for my part.
Cool. I'll take over now. Just give me a minute. I'll share my screen. Just a minute. Yeah, I hope it's visible. Is this visible, guys? And am I audible?
Yes, my space is you're right.
Cool. Okay. So hi everybody, I'm Manasvi and I'll be interning at BCG this summer. So let's get into how exactly you can prepare for any consulting interns. I think both the speakers before me have pretty much covered all that I'm going to say. So I'll just move through the points pretty quickly. Okay, so yeah. Oh, let's all right. Just give me a minute. Let me see if I can do anything about that. Any better? Hello. Is it better? Okay, cool. Okay. So let's talk about some general pointers when it comes to consulting. As Devans and Vishaka said, a resume shortlist is the first and the biggest hurdle that you'll face when you're doing consulting career, when you're putting your resume in. So three important things. You need to make sure that whatever you write is compact, comprehensive, and make sure there are no blank spaces. This is something you hear a lot when you get your resume verified by your career. It should be well aligned, well worded. Make sure that there is no unnecessary stuff that's there in your resume that can make it look not very neat. So it needs to stand out in the sense that when the person looks at your resume, everything that you've done should be very clear, and anything that you want to highlight should be well highlighted. For DSK in particular, there exists an unofficial 8 plus PTI cutoff. So if you guys are looking for a resume shortlist without an 8 plus PTI, it is very rare that it can happen. So I would suggest you make sure you know what kind of unofficial cutoffs exist. Again, as the said, there is something called steep that exists. You need 2 to 3 weeks. It can be fewer, it could be captaincy or coordinatorship or like leadership or whatever. Could be a grace CPR. It could be having internships over the summer, projects, research papers, inter-IT medals, any other awards that could possibly set you apart. And you should have 2 to 3 peaks if you want to get shortlisted. Remember that. Another thing is that a lot of people say कि shortlist के बाद you can start your preparation. I would still suggest कि थोड़ा पहले शुरू कर दो. At least start looking at what are cases, what frameworks are. At least it's not very serious. You should at least start understanding how a case goes about. And make sure that your resume gets verified a lot. For me personally, it took 13 to 14 iterations of my resume to get to the one that I submitted. So make sure you're doing that well. Again, consulting is, especially resume shortness, is like a dice throw. It is not necessarily key. If you have the perfect consult resume, which people will say, oh my God, this will get shortlisted. It's not necessary, you will get shortlisted. It is often luck. So make sure that you prepare well for other domains. Just don't put all your eggs into one basket. It might lead to some serious consequences. So make sure you're still coding or still preparing for your own domains that you're interested in. Um, Moving on to case prep. So as Vedant said, there's going to be rounds in which they will take you to case studies. So again, very importantly, do not mug up case frameworks. It shows when you're doing your case study. It shows. So it's a case study is basically like a problem statement which you're trying to solve. You're trying to find the root cause of something, or you're trying to find a solution to some problem that they're presenting to you. Right. So if you just blurt out a particular framework, कि ऐसे ऐसे करोगे तो हो जाएगा, that won't make sense. You need to make sure that you understand how exactly that case framework has come about and follow that during your interview. So also communicate with your interviewer throughout. Like do not think कि whatever you're thinking, your interviewer will just magically know that. Right. So you need to keep communicating. So that's important. I've listed down a lot of resources to Chase Prep. The ones that I personally found the most useful when I was starting out was IIT Bombay's casebook called Case Interview Fraud. Brilliant casebook, you can start with that. I mean, very good for beginners. And then after that, I also looked at Aditya Agrawal's case interviews. That is also considered to be really, really good. And I agree, you get to learn how exactly you can solve a case, like how to utilize a paper in order to solve a case, like how can you make it neat so that you don't get confused at the end of the day. And again, I am Calcutta casebook is also really good. And yeah, mock interviews on YouTube, which I've also linked. You can check those out. I feel like those will be really useful for you as well. I've also put in a Google Doc, which you could refer to. It has sort of a compilation of all of these resources plus some other general pointers. When it comes to interviews, again, similar to McKinsey, you have a buddy that's assigned to you, which is like a senior, like I had a vice team assigned to me. So he was somebody who I was contacting. So make sure you have a great impression. This is evaluative. They tell you that it's not, but it is evaluative. So make sure that you're giving it your best. Before you go in with your buddy cases, make sure that you have prepared well. Make sure you've already done a lot of cases beforehand. Make sure you're doing at least 2 cases with your buddy. Make sure it's separated by a week so that you have chance to improve in case you have messed up the first go. Again, when it comes to interviews, there's 2 rounds and a final round on day 0. So both rounds involve case studies from HR questions like consulting or like about your resume. Oh, if you were a secretary here, what work did you do? If you were an editor, if you're an assistant editor at work, what did you do? So things like that. And sometimes the interviewers are people from IIT here who are now in a really good position in the firm. So they'll ask you certain questions about how things are, how life is at IIT Kanpur, and stuff. So make sure you have a good connection with your interviewer beforehand so that during the case you can still communicate well. So make sure you're doing a lot of case prep, which means you contact all of the people who are interested in doing case prep, make a group, practice regularly, practice cases from the books that have been listed, um, practice cases with your seniors. Why 21 should be field scientists, so make sure that you talk to them well and make sure that they also take some of the cases. They will have a wealth of understanding and cases that they'll be able to share with you. And of course, be confident during the interview. Speak well. Make sure that you don't falter. Even if you do, make sure that you still understand that this is a problem that you want to solve. So you can take control of the interview, but also at the same time make sure the interview is in on your thought process. So yeah, that's all from my end. I hope you guys do really well. If you have any doubts with any, like all three of us, you can just ask them. Cool. Thank you.
If you have any questions, then you can send it in the chat box. Okay, I guess there is no doubts right now. So, okay, guys, that was it. Okay, we have a doubt from Tushar.
Cool. Since consultant usually the first set of companies to send out shortlist, what's usually the timeline? How does it coincide? Okay. I think consulting shortlist come last year. I don't really recall. They come out in like the last week of July now. If I'm not wrong, Vedant, if you could back me up on this.
But I think it's around 20th. I think
Right.
BCG is going to release the short.
Yeah,
Thanks.
20th. And cases post my shortlist, if you get one, it will overlap with your other test, right? I think usi time pe sare tests start like a week before day 0 is when all of the tests start. Phone companies, etc. start taking tests. Google also takes its tests usi time pe. It will overlap with your other tests, yes. But I think if you should probably start preparing thoda sa at least for your cases. Honestly, case prep the thing is it won't really even if you don't do it very seriously pehle, just understanding it will still help you answer your other questions well, like in your other domains, it will still help. Honestly, I feel case prep has helped me structure my answers a lot. Not even consult wise, but like in general. So I would say it won't be a loss if you start prepping thoda before your final shortlist comes. Vedant, if you have anything to add, Vishaka?
Yes, I think if your question is when should you start it specifically, I think it's fine. Let's say even if you're very bad at structuring, it's still fine if you would start in, let's say, July, right? The fact that these tests or buddy rounds are going to overlap is going to remain throughout the intern season, right? So that is to say, let's say you have multiple companies coming in, and for whichever company you do get a shortlist, and even for the companies you're applying for tests into, right? I think all of these are going to coincide greatly. So it would never be the fact that you're going to prepare one thing solely, right? If that's going to happen at any point of time, that's going to happen now, let's say for the next 2 months. When's a safe time to start? And I think it's still a safe time to, let's say, start in July or something. Because I think even, let's say, you spending a 30-minute time on a daily basis for, let's say, 15 days or 2 weeks is, I think, more than enough for preparing, let's say, these cases, right? So it's safe to, let's say, start in first or second week of July, if that's what you're asking. And yes, overlaps do happen a lot. Not only for consult domains, it happens with multiple domains. Oh yeah, by the way, just an information, I think it's been highlighted by the other speaker as well. That please do have an other domain for which you're preparing throughout the summers. That'll greatly help you, given that the consult shortlist and even the selections for that sake are a bit unpredictable. They're a bit random. Yes, they're based on merit, but at the same point of time, given that they have to, let's say, shortlist among such a huge amount of people, let's say, even during the interviews, there are no specific criteria, right? And the subjective opinion of the interview can vary. So this is not a very definitive domain or something, let's say, to solely focus on. And also the fact that it does not take a lot of your time during the summers even. So I think it's fairly wise if you have other backup domains that you're prioritizing during summers.
Okay, guys, that was it. Thanks a lot to Vishaka, Manasvi, and Vedansh for your insights. And also thanks everyone for joining. And don't worry about the PPT, it will be shared soon with you later on. And also tomorrow we have session on technomanagerial and analytics profiles. So if you are interested, join the session. The details will be shared to you via mail and also WhatsApp. Okay. Thank you, everyone.